seaplane tactics. It was during this period that the Imperial Japanese Navy developed what was arguably the crown jewel and definitely the most dangerous weapon of its surface fleet, the Type 93 torpedo. By far the finest torpedo of its time, the Type 93 was 24 inches in diameter and at 29 feet 6 inches, unusually long. It carried an explosive charge of 1,080 pounds, the largest of its kind. But what made the Type 93 so special was its range. At its high-speed setting of 48 knots, it had a range of 20,000 meters, more than 10 miles. At its slowest speed of 36 knots, it could go an incredible 40,000 meters, more than 20 miles. By comparison, the U.S. Navy's Mark 15 torpedo used by destroyers had a maximum range of just 5,500 meters at its high-speed setting of 45 knots and a range of 13,700 meters at 26 knots, a speed so slow that it could be outrun by Japanese warships. On top of that, the Mark 15 was powered by steam, which left a trail of bubbles that was easily spotted and seemed overly prone to duds. In contrast, the Type 93 was powered by oxygen, which left no bubbles and little visible wake. The Japanese went to great lengths to conceal the Type 93. Its devastating power would be a rude shock to the U.S. and Royal Navies in the Pacific. Much later, the torpedo's extreme effectiveness and unusual length earned from noted historian Samuel Eliot Morison the title by which the Type 93 would become famous: Long Lance. The Washington Naval Treaty of 1922 was arguably Japan's last attempt at outwardly restraining its expansionist ambitions in the name of peace. As the treaty was concluded, Emperor Taisho, whose lack of interest in politics had helped Japan agree to the Washington Treaty, was forced from power by health issues. His son, Crown Prince Hirohito, steadily gained more power until December 25, 1925, when Taisho died, and the Crown Prince became Emperor of Japan. The new era of Showa, enlightened peace, was proclaimed. Hirohito would use this period of enlightened peace to start 2 wars. Despite her naval ingenuity, her first aggressive act was in fact on land, with the invasion of China, starting in earnest in 1937. It was never called a war, at least not in Japanese parlance. It was always called an incident, one that was supposed to last a month. Yet it was in this incident that the behavior of the Imperial Japanese Army exhibited some of the most barbaric conduct of the 20th century, including the literal rape of Nanking. Some 20,000 women were raped, most repeatedly, many in front of husbands, fathers, or children who were murdered when they attempted to intervene. In Nanking alone, some 260,000 civilians were killed. More than a third of the city was left in ruins, and everything of value was shipped to Japan. Ultimately, Japan conquered everything worth conquering in China: its ports, its industrial areas, the majority of its arable land, most of its navigable rivers. Yet it meant nothing. In 1940, the Sea Eagles received a new toy, the Mitsubishi A6M Type 00 Reisen Carrier Fighter Model 11, which would become famous as the Zero. It literally chased what little air power China had from the skies. It still meant nothing. The Chinese would not surrender, could not be made to surrender. As a result, the China incident kept consuming more and more resources, $5 million a day, a staggering sum for that time, while the continuing Japanese atrocities were alienating the very countries on whom Japan depended for import of those resources, such as the United States. Only 10% of the oil Japan used was produced in the home islands. Another 10% came from the Netherlands East Indies. The remainder, 80%, came from the United States. And that flow of oil was in danger of being cut off if relations between Japan and the West continued to deteriorate. And continued to deteriorate they did, as World War II in Europe began. In June 1940, a month after President Roosevelt had moved the Pacific Fleet from San Diego to Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Congress authorized the Two-Ocean Navy Act, providing for a massive expansion of the U.S. Navy. In a few years, the U.S. Navy would achieve quantitative superiority to the Imperial Japanese Navy in the Pacific, and any chance of the Japanese assembling the East Asian hegemony